It's stunning. It's brave. It's stunning and brave. The one thing that Star Wars The Acolyte isn't is good. So it may take a parsec leap forward for queer representation, and we'll go through this shill media article at some point. But fans are hating it all the way around. It is reaching new lows in terms of Rotten Tomatoes audience score. Of course, they're blaming the review bombs rather than people actually just disliking the show. But if it was just a review bomb and it was a one-time thing, people usually just tune in, they do the bomb, they leave. It doesn't keep dropping, and that's what we're seeing with Star Wars The Acolyte. Now that Episode 3 is out, and we learned that this is just some weird self-insert of Leslie Headland wanting to have her coven of lesbian space witches who are oppressed by the Jedi patriarchy with nonsensical writing, bad acting, everything just being bland and stupid and not feeling like a Star Wars at all. People hate it. That's all it's coming down to. We'll show you exactly what's happening in just a moment. My name is John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling science fiction author. And if you like what Star Wars used to be, action-adventure, we have this beautiful, beautiful trilogy of books for you. It's called Justified Saga of the Nano Templar, and you are absolutely going to enjoy this. So I'm going to put this link in the description below on Amazon. We got super high ratings. Appreciate you guys for being there. Quite the opposite of the Rotten Tomatoes. And I was review bombed. I got a couple angry people who just leave those oh, you're a hateful bigot type of comments on here as well, who didn't even bother reading the book. But overwhelmingly, it does the opposite. It goes up over time when you have a quality product, and that's what we have. So thank you so much. And make sure to hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Join our community of good science fiction people who care about the medium. Really appreciate you all for being here. And so Valiant Renegade posted this morning, almost there, with an 85% score and a 20% audience rating. Now, when episodes 1 and 2 came out, the critics had a 95% critic score. So the critic score has been consistently dropping. A 10% drop after one episode, pretty big. All the shill media went out there, and they got paid by Disney to leave great reviews for this, saying how diverse and inclusive it is. And once that kind of wore off, you'll see that current critic ratings are just dropping along with the audience. Now, the audience score at that point after the second episode was at 26%. So we've seen a steady decline over 1 week over the percentages. Now, if the review bombing was happening as they were talking about, that would have already occurred, and if the people who come in and actually watch the show and like the show over time, the score would slowly trickle back up again. It wouldn't go all the way around. Now, this is getting close to reaching zero. The only thing that they've got now is complete shills here. There's 10,000 plus ratings at 20%. There's really no way to overcome this at this point. And if it keeps dropping, you know that they're just keeping screwing up. I mean, that's really what this is coming down to. Episode 3 was absolutely terrible. I did a complete review of it the other day. You can look for my episode review on the channel. Long story short, it was just a bunch of token diversity virtue signaling with no plot. It was a complete backstory, poorly written, and it's something that no professional science fiction writer would have ever penned. I mean, it's absolutely crazy what they did. Now, I checked this on Rotten Tomatoes just to be sure, and that's exactly where we're sitting right now. And if you go to the top critics, the ones that are trusted a little more, you see that drops even more from the full critic rating. And that's how you can tell the shill media is involved here. It's not a review bomb by the audience. It's a review bomb the opposite direction by the critics trying to paint this as something great, all because they have the shilling to do. You know exactly how it goes. And here's one of those paid shills right here. We have Alden Diaz, host of a bunch of radio shows, Star Trek, iHeartRadio, him, as you could tell. So this is one of those paid critic shills. And somebody posted to one of his posts about this. He said an absolutely stunning. So you see the words? I opened the video with stunning and brave. This is it. This is what they say. Performance by Jodie Turner-Smith in this episode. I was floored. Her last dialogue scene was riveting. Broke my heart. Actors. I love actors. Yes, clap for the lesbian black space witches. That's exactly it. And everybody hates it. And this was as that came out. As episode 3 came out, it was sitting at 24% on the audience score. And so here's what he says, of course. You must be under the impression that I give a
F about what a bunch of insecure review-bombing clowns think when it comes to art entertainment. Let me assure you that I do not. It's pathetic. The fact that they can't find affirmation in real life is entirely their own problem.
Well, SJWs always project, as you know. And as a critic and a person who professionally sits there and shills for these companies trying to get affirmation and head pats from Disney and Lucasfilm, well, it's actually him who can't find affirmation in real life with his dorkiness, and that's his own problem. That's really what it is. This is an insecure, over-the-top, clapping for some random Space Witch chick who was like the most boring character you might have ever seen in your entire life. Riveting? There was nothing riveting. It was hard to stay awake during that episode. This guy's insane. But this is exactly what they're going to do to Shill, because it's all about this, the queer representation. And you see Jodie Turner-Smith right here for the queer representation. And this is all they care about.
Where are all the LGBTQ people in Star Wars? They exist, but they're on the periphery in video games or comic books.
Yeah, because it's not something that people are interested in watching movies about. Because in real life, if you just make your entire life about your weird sexuality and fetishes and things like that, you don't actually go accomplish things typically like being a war hero and things like that. It takes a focus on work and not on identity politics if you're going to actually accomplish things. And that's what these people don't ever seem to understand when they try to turn everything in the movies and TV shows into this pride fest all the time, is that when you do that, it's boring because the characters don't do anything except for talk about their own identities. And when they do that, the audience hates it. It's obvious.
The closest we've come to live-action Star Wars universe in queer representation is the same-sex kiss hidden in the background of Rise of the Skywalker. Plenty of real-world evidence that queer people and queer animals...
This is the newest thing that they're trying to do. Absolutely disgusting. These people are sick.
Exist all over the globe. Why aren't they in the entire galaxy?
Notice, are they talking about this is a great show, the acting's fantastic, the directing's fantastic, the writing's good? No, it's all about
representation. It's a family of faith that conflicts with the Jedi way of life.
Oh, yes. Oh, the patriarchy. It's terrible. And that's where this entire thing is. I can't read this entire thing because I'm going to go completely insane if I do. It's just going to be painful. And queerness as a metaphor. Yeah, and that's what it was about. It was really, if you look at it, the entire thing was about the Jedi being the patriarchy, the straight people. They're boring. They're rules followers, and we, the queers, can create life out of nothing. It's really crazy. And it's so false to reality with these degenerate lifestyles where you're really just going to go around and get monkeypox. Let's be honest. If you live these lifestyles, you're not going to create life or anything like that. It's so insulting to an audience intelligence. It just doesn't ring true whenever they do this. And now we're even seeing that the bigger media companies are admitting how poor this is and how poor it's all going over. This is from Forbes. I was shocked to see this. So welcome to the Fandom Menace, Forbes. You review-bombing bigots at Forbes. The Acolyte Episode 3 is one of the most disappointing Star Wars episodes ever made. Wow. It's an embarrassment to the entire franchise. Much could be the same about Star Wars these days outside of Andor in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Yeah, a lot of people around these parts didn't like Andor very much either. I thought that it was actually really well written and it made me care about the character when I didn't from Rogue One. So very interesting. Here's one exchange between the two characters.
The Jedi are bad. The Jedi are good.
Later, the same two characters, the protagonist and antagonist, say to one another,
"What have you done? What have you done? What have you done?"
I want to ask Disney, what have you done? Oof. The entire episode is a bad joke. They lived with their mothers in a society of witches, all of whom are females. They were conceived using the Force or something. Force-using witches are frowned upon in the galaxy. They use the Force, the thread. I'm getting the dark side vibes here, but I'm also getting the sense that this show will try to be edgy and make the Jedi out to be the bad guys, which we've seen play out about a half a dozen times at this point. The review goes on from there, and this is a really well-done review that just absolutely destroys this show. But This is what's happening. The media is even at the point where they're like, you know what? It's so bad we can't even cover for this anymore. We can't pretend that just because there's a bunch of diversity in it that's shoved in our faces, that somehow it's something worth clapping over and worth subscribing to Disney Plus over. It's not. They've destroyed Star Wars. They don't pay any attention to the lore. The writing's atrocious. The characters are not interesting whatsoever. All they are is black lesbian space witches. Whew. All right. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. How low can it go? Do you think it can drop down to 10%? I would love to hear from you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out the alternative, the very highly rated Justified Saga of the Nano Templar. That link's in the description below. We'll be back soon.